and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Call this meeting to order at 5:30 PM. Roll call
Matt Daly,
here.
Robert Hayes,
Here.
Richard Jones, Ron Ortiz,
Here.
Dr. Guyer Shambo. He might show up when we're not too certain. So, do we have any changes to the agenda? If so, Mr. Pettis?
No, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, good evening, everybody. I recommend that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Let's present it. Do we need a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hayes,
Second.
second by Mr. Ron. Approve the agenda as presented. Roll call,
Matt Daly,
yes?
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Superintendent, your recommendation for the approval of the minute or adoption of the minutes?
Madam Chair, members of the board, I recommend that we approve the minutes of November 15th, 2022 as presented.
We have a motion?
I'll move to approve. Second. We're just gonna back and forth.
I know.
Yeah.
Remember whose turn it is.
Matt Daly,
Yes.
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz.
Yes.
Mr. Superintendent, let's move on to recognitions.
Yes, ma'am, and members of the board. So I just wanted to recognize or acknowledge new sheriff Larry Diaz. Not only because he was successful in the getting that office, but he came to meet with me last week and to talk about security, because we're doing a lot of things with security around the community, and had a real good meeting with him, and he's committed to doing everything he can, him and the department, to work with us to see that our staff and our students at the schools are have another layer of protection. So he committed to working pretty closely with us with our meetings and with me and with our security guards and our district safety team. So I was hoping he'd be here, but I just want to acknowledge him, and I wanted to thank him for opening up with his office that way. So we look forward to working with him. That's all I have.
Well, thank you for that. Maybe if he does come in, we can
Sure.
have him speak with us. So let's move on to citizens to address the board, Mr. Superintendent.
No, ma'am, there are no citizens to address the board this evening.
Right along, let's go on to presentations.
Okay, it's with always a great pleasure to recognize our schools as we do our regular school site presentations. And this evening, we have our one of our middle schools, Los Alamitos Middle School, with the principal and staff to share the things that are going on there. Mr. Reyes Armil.
Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Perez and board directors. Thank you guys for allowing us the time tonight to speak with you and present some of the positive things that are happening at our school. Okay, sorry. I think the presentation was provided to you guys in your packets.
Yes.
I didn't know. I'm sorry.
You don't have it for the.
I think she went to go get it.
Okay.
To load it up.
I don't know if you want me to continue without it on our board, since you guys have it in front of you.
Yeah.
I think we need it for those that are on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Google Drive.
Sorry.
So you should be able to
Figure it
pull it up.
Stand up there a little longer.
genuine song and dance.
Okay.
There you go.
We have a free table over here. No.
Who's,
He got it.
okay, good. There we go.
The magic of the
I
internet.
know, and technology, isn't it wonderful?
There you go. See it there.
It doesn't work.
So again, I'll just introduce myself, Principal, Reyes Jaramillo of Los Alamitos Middle School. And so tonight I have with me to help co-present, Ms. Brownfield. Ms. Brownfield is a math teacher, 8th grade math teacher on our side. She is on my leadership team. She's a teacher leader in our school. And she is sponsor of National Junior Honor Society, and she is also working on some internship hours for her admin program as well. So at this point in time, I'm actually gonna hand it over to her and she can continue the acting.
Here we go.
There we go. Okay.
Low tech.
Our why at Los Alamitos is that we as a staff will contribute to making the school the safest and best place for all students to learn. We will make a difference, we will add value and have an impact on all students' academic as well as their social and emotional needs. Alright, so at our school, for our New Mexico Dash Plan this year, we did determine in our root cause analysis 2 focus areas that we wanted to really concentrate on. The first one is school leadership and systems. And with that, our desired outcome was that all staff follow school-wide student behavior management expectations and provide students with support as needed. So we really wanted to step away from just 3 strikes, you're out, and suspensions, and really focus on the root causes of what was happening with our students and how we can best support them in all areas to improve their education, to increase their time in classrooms, and to just support them as much as we possibly can. We also want to focus on our layer 1 core instruction. We felt as a leadership team with Mr. Jaramillo that we would serve the most students if we hit really focused and really strengthened ourselves in our core 1 instruction, and then later focused on strengthening our interventions. So our teachers are providing deep level 1 instruction aligned with our district learning plan, which goes with our New Mexico state standards within our classrooms all year. At our school, we serve 417 total students. We have 205 7th graders in our school and 212 8th graders. Our staff consists of 35 certified staff members, 2 of which we share with Grants High School. At this time, we have 4 long-term substitutes within our school. 2 certified teachers have been selected to fill those positions, and they will be joining us in January. We also have 18 classified staff members, and we have 2 vacancies currently in our school. We need an EWS attendance assistant as well as a 7th grade math teacher. In our school, we implement our district learning plan in ELA and math that is really a focus on standards-driven instruction that is broken down by each quarter. Each quarter, we assess our students and determine their performance in those standards for each quarter, and use that to drive our instruction to identify whatever gaps we need to fill moving forward to address the next quarter's standards. We use those results and that data to determine targeted interventions and determine the best way to support our standards, keeping our instruction and our supports standards-based and on grade level, filling in whatever holes we need to do as we plan. In order to best do this, all of our teachers participate in 2 50-minute PLC meetings every week with our instructional coach, who is missing in action because she decided she had to have a baby in the middle of the year. Today.
Baby was born this morning.
So we will definitely miss her, but we will carry on continuing to do standard-driven planning examining those standards, taking a look at what it means to master those standards and what resources we can pull to guide our students to that point. We also examine student work within our PLCs and look at in the minute data or in the moment data, what our students are doing as they're doing it to drive our instruction as it is happening. And in these meetings, we collaborate with each other across grade levels, but within the same content areas. So we're gonna look at some data. Let me give it back to you.
And again, our data presenter was Ms. Beach, and she was not able to join us. This morning, she had her son, so we are taking it on. So the data presented in front of you, at the middle school, currently we have two, I would consider them hard mark data points. We have the IMASA, the BOY IMASA beginning of the year. We also have our quarter one synergy assessment, quarterly assessment. And so with those two, we want to look at, again, the IMASA is our baseline data. It's something that we're getting the kids, we want to know where they are. It's not necessarily, it's a starting point for us. So it's good data to have to reference back, but again, it doesn't show the whole picture because it's testing students for the whole, if they're seventh graders, it's testing seventh grade standards all the way across, and some of those standards haven't been taught. And so it's a baseline data that we're referencing, not necessarily something to run back and think, hey, this is where we were, we need to go here. Our focus is on our quarterly assessments. Our quarterly assessments are aligned to the DLP. And so with that data, you can see some of the key points. Ms. Beach left me talking points. So, so the graph shows that initially, so initially we had like 33, if you look at that first graph on the left-hand side, we had 33 students in the IMASA test proficient. And then the second chart that's red next to it, it shows that 60 students tested proficient in quarter one standards. Some of those quarter one standards were in the baseline, and so it's showing that we were able to keep some of those students where they were, and we also grew by a number of, so 27 additional seventh grade students were able to test proficient or advanced in quarter one. In the eighth grade ELEI data, it shows that 15 additional students were able to test proficient or advanced in quarter one standards. And looking at the other two categories, there's significantly less students in our needs support area. So overall, 52 students have moved from needs support, and they either moved to nearing or on target. And so we're seeing progress, and it's positive progress. So using those two data points. We can go to the next slide, and so this was ELA.
Now we're gonna take a look at the math data, and this is the data that I live and breathe every single day, so you should be doing okay. So again, this is comparing two different assessments. One assessment that is looking at standards that are covering our students through the entire year, and then specifically taking a zoom in lens and looking at just our quarter one standards and how our students have performed on those specific standards. We're getting ready to get a whole bunch more data. My students are taking the quarter two assessment this week, and then we're going to do the middle of the year IMASA test next week as well. So we will be able to update and take another look at this. So using the beginning of the year results, addressing most of the quarter one standards and additional standards that will be addressed later in the year. We based our teaching practices and methodologies to address individual student performance and to drive instruction and interventions based on how the students performed in class and using their beginning of the year IMASA data. We specifically looked at students, put names to numbers. We have walls filled with student names and performance, and specifically targeted interventions to those specific students, and determined how we could best support them. So if we take another look and zoom in on that quarter one data, we can see that at the beginning of the year, 44 additional seventh grade students scored proficient or advanced in our quarter one test than they did on the beginning of the year IMASA test. So there's positive movement throughout the graph, including that there are 22 less students that scored in the needs support, meaning that these students scored near target and or on target. So they moved from the lower red and into the green, and that's what I tell my students. We want to shrink the red and grow the green. In 8th grade, 80 additional students scored proficient or advanced in our quarter one district assessment than they did on the IMASA test. And we moved 89 students out of the needs support into the either near target or on target range. So we are moving our students in the right direction. There's still plenty of work to be done, but we show up and that's what we do every day.
So the next slide, I want to highlight our CTE program. So this year, with the push that the district has implemented CTE in our schools, we took that at the middle school level and we said, how can we support and get these kids ready for something in the high school? And so based on a needs assessment, we were able to identify that there were 3 areas in the CTE pathways that we can address some of our students. So we were able to bring some science and technology pathways classes. We're offering a 7th grade word processing class. We also have a general computer applications class. And then we also are offering MESA for the first time as a class within the school. In the construction trade pathway, we're offering 7th grade construction career exploration, and then also drafting. That's a beginning level drafting course. And then agriculture, huge need for it. A lot of students were interested in that, so we brought ag career exploration and then also an ag science into that. With CTE at the middle school level, it's all exploration based, so they're not getting credit for something. It's more giving them exposure to this and seeing if that's really what they want, so then when they go to a high school, they can start on one of those pathways and be that much closer. Tonight I was able to bring one of our new teachers this year, not new to the district, but he came back and he teaches 5 of those courses listed up there. He has 5 different courses he offers. He offers the most different courses in our school system, and I would like him to come up and maybe present and say a few words about some of the things that him and his students are working on. Also with that, we asked one of his students who's taking construction career exploration, correct? To come and present as well. So I'll just send him home and say a few words. This is Mr. Aaron Tercino.
These are Christmas gifts. Okay. Members of the board, superintendent, thank you for the time to speak on the programming that we're providing for the district and the district. It's a great endeavor to see some faces I know here. So as Mr. Armijo said, we are working to expose these students to the different pathways that are out there. And to kind of summarize these past 2 quarters, it's been a lot doing those different curricula, but again, it's been great to have this learn and grow with me in these subjects. And it's just great when Mr. Armijo said, here's kind of what we're trying to offer. What do you want to do? I said, let's do all. Let's get it rolling. I think the more that we explore and the more we work on earlier, it's going to help develop this pipeline and what we're going to work on. So I'll just do a quick summary of kind of what we go through. It really looks at the district learning plans, look at building the foundations of a good employee, reinforcing the academic skills that they would get in the classrooms. There's a really great, unified comprehensive plans that are common throughout all of the courses. And what we do is just really try to build the skills, give the experience, have them reflect on what the different jobs that are out there, and trying to align it with the UNESCO Career Clusters catalog so that they're getting that relevant experience to what's actually out there. In addition to just learning those soft skills of learning how to work and be a good colleague, to be a good employee, working and communicating with your boss and your colleagues, and navigating just those challenges and those things that may come up. So in our drafting class, what we've been working on is just really your basic hands-on drawing, learning how to draw straight lines, curved lines, different perspectives, 2D, 3D, your classic drafting. But we've been able to leverage a program called Tinkercad, which is a watered-down version of AutoCAD, which is the industry standard. And it's been great to be able to have the kids practice both the low-tech and the high-tech. As we get our supplies and our resources, we'll be hoping to get our 3D printers and what the students will be designing, which is, looking like, something maybe like this one day, but essentially being able to print what they build on site, being able to print things that are needed for themselves, for their home, producing things that they create. That'll be a really great opportunity for them. So that's what the drafting class does. Our construction, we really spent the whole first quarter on hand tool safety and just general safety awareness, learning how to make sure a site is safe and that the tools that they're using, they know they have the skills and they have the awareness of what, how to use it properly and safely. Really reinforcing those math skills, some of the perspective things that we're doing in drafting, following a plan, problem solving, critical thinking, we're doing all of those things. The agriculture, I wasn't able to bring the Angus cow today because I had other plans, but really comprehensive in terms of looking at just food production, planting, animal science. We got looking at major global issues. We talked about edible bugs coming. We talked about GMO labeling. We talked about big picture stuff along with small picture. And so it's been great for the students to get that exposure for that course on those courses, and ultimately ending at the day with the MESA program has been great. A lot of times when we go to the MESA competitions, we usually we do okay, and then we face those teams that have the year-round programming, and they have these kids that do it all the time. And our goal is going to be to really hopefully be on that really competitive level, having these students to spend more time with the content that we're going to these competitions for. So and just reinforcing and giving them more opportunity. It's been really fun to have that class in the daytime and not just the after school. And also provides more opportunity for students who may not be able to stay after school, or students that live in the further communities to be able to get that opportunity to participate as well. So just some quick examples. I'll show mine, and I'm gonna call Marcus to be our last presenter because she's been through it. This is an example of what we're doing in drafting. It's in its beginning stages, but we've had the kids create the Tinkercad model online. They're creating the digital design, and then I've had them choose whether they want to design it using the foam core or draw the model on a 1-to-1 scale. So they're practicing creating it exactly as they designed it. So this is just the first part of that right now. So this is our first model that we have. And if you have the slides with the pictures of the kids' creations, and you can see a lot of what they've created in the slides. There are some examples of what they've created in that course. So that's just some student work that they've done. We have here, this is going to be kind of a combo of our agriculture and our construction course, but it's basically just a grow station for when the students plant for the spring primarily. We've learned a little bit about cold weather planting zones and warm weather planting zones, and so we had put in a request for one that was far more expensive, and we figured let's just build one of our own. So we did one for probably 10% of cost of what we would have paid for one somewhere else, which is a really cool decision. It's always great, right? So this was something that I actually had a student who finishes his project early. I said, hey, you know what? This is something we need, and he ran with it. He took the skills he had, what we learned, and really created this. We cranked out a quick blueprint, and he was able to crank this out for us, which is really awesome. For MESA, the kids made some paper shoes, so if anybody is in need, we were able to make some paper models of shoes. And so, you're seeing this hands-on, this project-based model that we're really working off of. It really does engage the kids and help them to, again, have fun, be creative, but reinforce what they're doing in the classrooms. Right now, it's really been trying to find stuff for us to do, and then I think that next iteration is going to be really taking the skills that we're covering in class and getting the academic portion, and really starting to align with the learning plan to get those career skills embedded in there. And so for our last part, I actually want to call Marcus Rose to present his awesome work that he's created, and I told him that he just needs to talk about how things are going. So Marcus, do you need to ask me questions, or do you feel ready to go? All right.
Okay, so we made a birdhouse with hand tools only, and at home I put in this part, and I put this part on so I could attach it to a tree. So we had to measure everything out. We made this part so they could clean out the house, and we used like 1.4 inch. 1 1/4 inch spade bit to make this hole, and we made it bigger so they have some ventilation at the back of the birdhouse, and that's pretty much it.
And Marcus, what do you think was the hardest part about building?
I think the hardest part was probably setting the pieces up.
And we did this all by hand, so we don't have power tools yet, and so we did this all with hand saws before we had some clamps. We were right, really learning in a way. Once we got clamps and all the appropriate tools, they said, this is a tidy which was really cool. And at one point, his front plate actually broke. You remember that?
Yeah.
And that's been something that, he said, oh no, it broke. He was trying to fit the bottom board and the whole thing was snapped in half. And, he said, all right, let's go build another one. And that's been really cool. Thank you. And so again, in that we're able to see that growth mindset and reinforce that, this growth, oh, I need to do it again. This is off, let's do it again. With the drafting, we can't just turn in something and it be bad. Here's just another paper, we'll make you do it again. And it's building that craftsmanship and just building that pride and confidence in work that it's not really powerful to see and reinforce for not only in the academics, but as we talked about earlier in the dash plan, but just reinforcing that growth as individuals. And, it's been really great to take on, and I'm excited to get it started. And, we only think that it's going to get better over time. But I appreciate all the support from Mr. Aramijo and our site for just giving that flexibility and understanding that it is a pilot and it's going to only, like I said, I feel only improve. And again, just having the buy-in from the students, and hopefully I think they do enjoy it. I don't talk this much in class, just but a lot of it is, the more they're doing, that's the most meaningful, in that the learning and that hands-on experience. It's really going to be something that some of them are really showing that great promise that they follow these pathways. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Marcus. You've been doing great work.
And along with that, LRCT courses that we're offering, just the need and from students, hearing them talk. Again, not all of them are brought into some of the classes we're offering, but some of them, the CTE courses we offer are semester-long courses. And so I went into Marcus's class and the kids are like, do I really have to switch in January? I don't want to switch. So just knowing the want and the drive is key for if the students have that buy-in, I mean, they can learn anything and they're willing to learn anything. And so knowing that, I think we're gonna have to look at how we can expand even more offerings to our kids just because of the need from our students. If you can go to the next slide for me, please.
Hold on, just a few questions.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you can have.
The
I
young
didn't know if you
man,
wanted to wait till the end, sorry.
is this a possible career for you, construction trade or building?
Yeah.
And you constructed that entirely all by yourself?
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Any other questions for the young man?
Well, how long did it take you?
Like a month or two.
A month. Okay, work on it.
Well, you know, they did their own problem solving when it broke. And so that's, those are very good skills that you're learning there. Excellent, thank
You
you.
can build anything.
Just being in that classroom with them, you hear the conversations with the students that are having, like, oh, that's not gonna work, and they're problem solving with each other, and Mr. Saraceno is just facilitating it. I mean, that, looking in that classroom, that a lot of learning is happening and it's hands-on, so it's, our CTE program is growing, and I can see the need that we might need to even grow it even more, so.
Well, thank you. Mr. Cecina, are you from the area?
I'm from Laguna, yes.
You're Babo's son, or Mr. Chris' son.
Chris is my father.
Yeah, I remember him. We called him Bubba when he was a coach.
Yeah, same family.
Oh, good. Thank you. Glad to have you back in the area.
I was
Okay.
glad to bring him back. He actually taught at a CTE, like
Yeah, I had a 3-year stint in Albuquerque at Ace Leadership Charter School, which is a charter based in construction, and basically trying to kind of laying the pipeline and pathway for what we're kind of trying to do with the district right now.
so he's bringing skills that he already learned, and so we're happy to bring him back.
That's awesome. It's good.
Excellent. Thank you. Wish your family hello for us.
So along with CTE courses, we are offering other courses this year. So we used to offer an 8th grade career exploration, but we want that to be stemmed in 7th grade so that it starts them thinking of what they want to be, so that they can start taking courses with us second semester of 7th grade year and also all of 8th grade year. And so we moved career exploration to a 7th grade course. We are offering Spanish 2. So last year we offered just Spanish to our students, and our 7th grade students were getting, and our 8th grade students were getting the same thing. This year it's more of a progression. We're offering Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. And so it's progressing in what they're learning. Same with art. This year we are also offering 8th grade health, and all students will take the health class. And so I think in the future, it's gonna hopefully be that when they don't have to take it in 9th grade year, so that they can take more of the CTE courses and electives for them to earn those different pathways. Mesa new this year, and then we have a awesome band program that's building, and we are getting more and more students interested in it, and they are doing amazing. And so I think I know their concert is next, the 13th, is that Tuesday? Next Tuesday at the PAC Center, so I know Mr. Carrillo would like Emmy and everyone to go see some of the awesome work that he's doing. They're hoping that they can build a pep brand and hopefully play at our basketball games. And so according to his research, that we would be one of the only middle schools that have a pep band playing at their basketball games. And so that's something he really wants, and our kids want to do it, and they sound awesome. So hopefully it happens in the next couple of weeks, because our basketball season has started.
What time?
What time?
A concert.
6 o'clock.
You
And
sound so.
I will make sure, so it was moved from tonight, it was supposed to be tonight at 6, and then it got moved to next week. And so I can let Lorraine know, and she can share that with you guys as well. Our next slide. So our next slide, I want to introduce one of our students. It's actually Marcus's sister, and this is Haley Rose. And I will let her introduce herself and what she does for our school. And then she's actually going to present this slide for you guys, okay?
My name is Haley Rose. I am the student body president at LAMS. This year we have a couple of clubs and programs that we brought. We have the yearbook. We have student council, which I am in, I'm the president. We have National Junior Honor Society. We have middle school athletes, which we're gonna add middle school baseball and softball. And with all of these clubs and programs, I am a member in all of them. I'm participating in basketball, track, I'm in yearbook, and I'm a member of National Junior Honor.
So these are just.
That at 4.0.
And she doesn't. And so these are just some of the things we have to offer to our students so that they can get involved and participate in other ways. And the funny thing was, I asked her last week, I was like, hey, Katie, you're the student council president, do you mind presenting for us? I said, I have a slide. And I showed her the slide, and she said, did you build that slide for me? Because I'm in every single one of those. And I didn't even realize that. And so she is a overall well-rounded student, well-rounded athlete, and she does a lot for our school. And so I wanted her to come and present to you these programs. Next slide is, she's gonna also present. And so this year, this year we were able to bring back our 8th grade trips. And so,
For both 8th grade math, a couple of students were selected based on their behavior and grade. I am also a part of this. I'm gonna be going to Washington DC from June 5th all the way to June 9th with Ms. Barajas. And then from June 16th to June 20th, Ms. Brownfield will be taking her students. And 61 total students have been selected to go with the teachers, and 33 chaperones have also been chosen to go. Students have been selected on academic, behavior, and from their teacher recommendations.
and so again, this year we felt like it was time. We hadn't had this since pre-pandemic. And so we felt that it was time to bring our 8th grade sponsored junior tour trips back. Our students that were selected are gonna get a meaningful educational experience that is, I would say, a once in a lifetime opportunity for them to go and experience these 2 amazing historic cities with their peers. And again, it ties directly into our 8th grade history standards. And so everything that they have learned in the 8th grade US history class this year, they're gonna be able to go and see it and feel it and be part of it. And it's gonna be just an overall experience that some of these students are gonna remember for probably the rest of their lives. And so we were happy to bring that back, and Haley is also one of the students selected. And so she's excited to do that. At this time, I don't know if you guys have any questions for Haley, and then we can go to the next one.
Look, are you sure you're busy enough? Okay, well, congratulations, and parents, you've done a wonderful job. She's an excellent role model, and I think the more that we present that to the rest of the students district-wide and staff, that, you're an epitome of what we would like to see in every one of our students. So thank you very much for your participation. And good job, Mom and Dad and Grandma.
And then,
Donations are accepted.
so moving forward, going back to our 2 focus areas for this year, it was instruction, and then it was also behavior with our leadership and systems. So I have a few slides regarding our behavior and how we are tracking that and seeing some progress that we have seen. So again, the slides that are presented, the one that's very colorful and lines all over, that was last year's behavior data that we tracked. The one on the left is this year's. And then the red line, we put a mark to compare November to November. So the behavior that we are seeing is looking at the note, we have 57 less office referrals as of the end of November than we did last year. And again, this is all because of some of the systems and things that were changing in the classroom. Middle school is usually like, oh, those behaviors. And so we want to change that, and we want to offer different ways to have students, instead of sending them out of school, we want them in school and we want them learning. And so providing teachers with different tools that they can use to manage behavior. And so again, this behavior data is just looking at it in a snapshot, but 54 less office referrals as of the end of November than last year. Looking at that, that's like 2 months of discipline that's like totally wiped away. And so when we have less behavior, myself and my assistant principal, Mr. Gutierrez, who isn't able to make it today, is able to be in the classroom, and then we can focus on instruction. So it goes hand in hand with both of our focus areas this year. Looking at the next slide, some positive behavioral influences that we can say have made a factor is we have 2 security guards at LAMS. We have 2 new ones, and they are doing very good at what they're doing. Also, we have 16 new radios, and so the radios are key to some of our of what we do in the classroom. And so having the 16 new radios has also helped get us where we need to be and monitoring the students with some of those behaviors. And then Mr. Gutierrez has implemented a school-wide digital behavior flowchart with embedded links. And so the next slide will show that. But on there, every teacher has access to this flowchart, and it has live links. So the teacher brings it up, they can click on the refocus form, and it takes it to them, and they can do the refocus right there. It has the PRIM manual, PRIM intervention manual. And so if teachers are struggling with, I don't know what to do with this kid, they can access that PRIM manual, and it gives them strategies and interventions to use in the classroom. And then also there's a link, directly linked to the district and behavioral handbook for teachers to access immediately as well. And then we've also changed some of our in-school suspension protocols. And so the next couple slides have just brief things, I think, related to it. For the next one. So the behavioral flow chart, it guides teachers like, this is what's happening, and they follow the flow chart. If it's a classroom managed one, they follow it. And these again are classroom managed behaviors. It's not for the most severe behaviors or the ones that need attention right away. It's to give teachers an idea of how they can progress moving forward. And again, it has active links. So all the blue things, if they click on it, it takes them directly to what they need right then and there. And so the new this year is the refocus form. And so a refocus form is a chance for, instead of in the past, students were messing around, oh, you're going to ISS. This is one strategy that teachers can do. If you're misbehaving, I'm gonna send you that refocus form. You're gonna do this refocus form, and it gives a chance for students to reflect on the behaviors that they were doing and gives them a chance to really decide how they're gonna move forward. It's one step before sending them up. And so we've seen positive and negative in both, but again, a lot more positive with it. Some students get it and they do it as a compliance piece and it's not really effective, but some kids really take to it and they really, it has changed behavior, and you can see that in some of our behavior statistics. Go to the next slide. In-school suspension protocol. And so we do have an ISS room in our school. And in past, it was, if a student was misbehaving, they send them to ISS, And so we don't want it to be that. We want to intervene with the behaviors and only using those for the students that absolutely need it. And so we were able to place we were able to move a staff member into that position who has done amazing in there. And she's implemented her own, we had a conversation with her and I said, how do you feel that this program can work better? And so she came up with this plan and said, this is how I would run it. And it's actually it's working very well. And so if a student does have ISS all day, they go in there and they are communicating to their teacher through email. They're getting their work. The ISS supervisor is in there communicating with their teachers and making sure that they're getting what they need done. First offense, at the end of the day, the ISS, the student has to write a reflection and an apology letter to, if it was a teacher or if it was coming from us, they have to really reflect on their behaviors and change that. If they're in there for, again, then she changes it. Everything above is the same, but then the student takes it a step further and they research a quote and they relate that quote to how they're gonna move forward. And so we're looking at ways to actually change the behavior rather than just constantly just saying, you're in trouble, you're in trouble, you're in trouble. And so we've seen positive data regarding that. And I believe that's the last slide. And so with that, sorry, my presentation was long. But I stand for any questions, myself or anyone who has presented.
Board,
Very good.
do you keep track of the repeat offenders in ISS, or do you have a
So
large
we-
percentage?
We have, I don't have it for you today, but we definitely can do that. Everything we do is tracked. That's why we're able to make those crazy charts and data. So we're able to see repeat offenders, we're able to see all of that and see trends. And if there is someone that is in there consistently, then that's when we also schedule parent meetings and say, hey, this is what's happening. And so we try and address it at that, and hopefully we don't see trends in students.
Is this system available to all the schools, or is this just something of your design?
So we're following the district handbook, and what we did is we took that flow chart and we made it our own. And it follows the handbook. And then we've implemented refocus forms. I don't know if all schools do that. That was something that someone in our leadership team said, hey, I use refocus forms, and they worked for other classes in other schools, and we want to try that. And so it's new this year, and we're seeing some positive.
It'd be great to have that presentation done to the other high, especially to the high schools, because those are the feeders. The feeder schools are coming to the high schools, so it's important to know how they track that. Thank you.
I'd like to make a few comments. I'll just tell you that this is a great example. This school of systems, we talk a lot about system, an organization being a system. It's healthy. I think we can all feel the energy and the momentum and the very positive forward thinking of this group. I just need to acknowledge that the intentionality, we talk a lot about that in our principal groups, is being intentional. This is a great example of being very intentional about what you want to change and improve, very intentional, and keeping the data on it. Looking at the behavior charts, you're looking at all these different things that student performance, they're keeping an eye on what they want to change. They're measuring it and marking it. And I would get a good sense that everywhere from the students to the teachers to the leadership, that you hear them all talking the same type of language and systems and processes, and we do this and the DLP, and I really get a sense that there's a very good cohesion at the middle school, and it makes me very proud of all the work that you guys are doing. Also, as a district, we've invested a lot of resources into the CTE programs at the high school levels. Well, this is a very good evidence to show that has begun to take root at the middle school, which is so important. When the middle school has dived into that and is supporting the high school effort for CTE, we're going to be guaranteed that these students have a good experience and at any pathway that they so choose. Also, just have to acknowledge Haley Rose and Marcus. Appreciate your very good presentations, and tell you you both of you have a very good future ahead of you, and you're off to a great start. Appreciate all your work. So altogether, I just have to acknowledge, great students, great teachers, great leadership, great combination. So Los Alamos Middle School is in a good, healthy way right now, and we appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
I think it goes a lot to say that you present good role models, Mr. Santino, Mr. Diaz, to these students, and they want to be where you're at when they get to be your age. So, you take heed, you younger ones, is that the dedication of the staff and the teachers is really important. It's not all about salary. You spend more time than you actually work and get paid for. You spend enormous amount of time beyond that task, and so you just say thank you to your teachers and express your gratitude to the staff, janitors, cooks. It's all really important that we acknowledge the dedication of all our GCCS staff, and thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Vice President, Vice President Hunt Daly.
Oh, there, good. There's Dr. Guy. Thank you, Dr. Guy. Do you have some words of wisdom for us?
No, I just was listening to the presentation. Lorraine, would you put me down at 6 o'clock? And continue on as you guys are doing.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, moving right, unless, somebody has comments they'd like to make. Give me a chance. If not, we'll move on to the next presentation, the drug-free campus policy first read. Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, members of the board, want to just share a little bit?
Sure.
I can open up. So you remember we had the 24/7 drug-free campuses and tobacco-free campus presentation where they want us to do something to change our policy, which we all agreed that we do want to head that direction. So we have begun looking into that and pulling some of our current policies together and see where we need to change, because they give us some very prescriptive ways on what we need to tweak in our policies to make it stronger for a better chance at drug-free and tobacco-free campuses. So we have part of it this evening. We probably will have a second read on the next board meeting, if the board is okay with that. We want to bring in some more information because we realize that there's additional regulations and policies that are tied to this. So once we pull it all together, we'll bring it back to the board at the January 3rd meeting, okay, and then we can proceed from there. Did I capture that?
You did.
Okay.
Mr. Super, did we include some of the language that Mr. Marmon presented? Oh, excellent, good.
Yeah, so that's on its way, and right now you have, everybody has a piece of that in there.
Yeah.
But we'll be bringing more information on that, so that's what we have tonight. It'll be a better, fuller package at the January 3rd meeting.
Okay, so moving, letter C for the mid-year progress report on the strategic plan. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, ma'am. So, do you want me to start, or do you want to?
Yeah, no, I want to.
Yeah, go ahead, and then I'll chime in.
Mr. President, it's Mr. Members of the board, Mr. Pettis. We're continuing to review the strategic plan. We're using the strategic plan monitoring tool. We have evidence uploaded in that monitoring tool that we all have online access to, and it constantly changes. And so that's why we don't print everything every time. But we're continuing in our district leadership meetings and our principal meetings to go over every one of those critical actions in that strategic plan. And on January 4th, we're going to have a mid-year leadership summit where all of the directors, coordinators, and principals will get together, and we'll go over those critical action by critical action and decide where we are as a district on each of those items and what we still need to do. And so all of us, all of the areas that need more attention will get that more attention, and all of the things that accomplishments that need to be celebrated at that time will be celebrated as well, because we've done a lot in a short amount of time with that strategic plan. And so that's where we are. And so not by the 3rd, because we don't meet until the 4th, but by the next board meeting, we should have a really good summary of all of the items on our strategic plan and where we are with each of them. That sum it up?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, any questions?
Projected date, we're gonna present this, you said the 4th meeting? Or
No, it won't be on the meeting on the first January meeting, because we don't need to do this activity until the 4th. And that meeting is on the 3rd. So it'll be the following meeting.
Okay.
17th.
Guy, would you like to take over or you?
No, continue.
All right. So, moving right along, let's go to the status report and the budget.
Yes, ma'am. Board, we have the, as requested, and as part of our strategic plan, we have a status report on where we're at with the budget at this point in the year.
Good evening. I have to renew my objection to always following the school presentations because mine is not as fun or and probably way less engaging. I have no students to help me, it's just me. So, that's not fair. Anyway, I do want to give you a short presentation on where we are with our finances as of today. So, one thing I do regularly is I want to see exactly where we were in terms of where we are at periodic times of where and what it costs per student, what we're spending per student by school. So this particular case took the direct and indirect salaries and utility expenses. So it doesn't include everything that we spend on students. It doesn't include title funds. It doesn't include those kinds of things. But I want to give you a picture of what it costs to run each school on a regular basis. And so if we look at Blue Water Elementary as an example, the enrollment of 70 students at a cost of, for salaries and utilities of $1.2 million, it costs $17,926 per student. I won't read them all, you can see where it is, but it gives us a good picture no matter what expenses we load on here. The result in terms of the what the expenses are per student in terms of schools compared to each other remains pretty much the same. While the dollar amount might change, the ratio between what Blue Water expenses are and what Grants High School expenses are sort of remains the same. So you can see that in the smaller schools, obviously, just because of economies of scale, the per student expense in those particular schools is higher than the per student expense in Grants High, for example. If you look over at Mesa View, because they have, again, the economies of scale, this is on the next slide, slide 3, you'll see with an enrollment of 478 students, the cost per student is $10,438. What I'm trying to demonstrate here is the expense by school and the ratio between among the different schools. So as we look at however we load this expense-wise, I want to give you an accurate picture of where things are in terms of how much it costs by school to run that school, by students. So the average for all sites for these direct and indirect salaries and utilities expenses is $14,156 per student. That's the last line on that grid on the slide that you're seeing now. So total enrollment here is 32, when I did this was 3,229 students. The utility costs altogether for these schools, $4,159,000. Salary costs, $34 million, so the average cost per student, $14,156. That's this school year. So you can see on the right where I can give you another chart, just to give you another way of looking and comparing the per student costs for these expenses. So we focus on critical areas. This came out of the budget planning that we did many moons ago this year. Those areas have not changed. So we're looking at-risk programs and budgeting. We budgeted dramatic increases in the amounts for at-risk students. I'll show you that in just a few minutes. We expanded programs, a considerable investment in programs like the gifted program, for example, CTE. Building programs, again, significant investment in capital and building programs to accommodate growth, program growth, but also to upgrade our buildings and associated systems. And then looking at culture, again, looking at how we will intentionally address absenteeism, and responding to equality and inclusion opportunities. That's where we invest in staff, we invest in curriculum, we invest in training, those kinds of things. So I'm walking through what the actual expenses and encumbrances are in 22-23 for at-risk students. And this is just some of them. These are non-salary expenses, so it doesn't include any of the teachers, any of the special ed teachers, any of those, it's just non-salary expenses. And so you'll see that the investments we've made in changes and additions to our academics, they include a variety of resources that are available for teachers. We've invested $541,956 in academics. Added to that, we have invested in equipment that's directly related to the students, $746,000. And in our partnerships with our pueblos to address learning loss and issues related to those specific pueblos directed by the pueblos themselves, we have invested $600,000 in that. Student health and keeping kids healthy, not related to PPE, not related to the masks and all that, an additional $285,443,000. And then enrichment programs. This is directly tied to after-school programs that are, they include tutoring, but they also include other things like cheer and band and archery, and I mean, the list goes on and on, just the ways to keep kids engaged after school and give them an opportunity to participate in experiences outside of the school. Then we have incentive programs. So if you were to talk to us 2 years ago with what our enrollment was, you would have seen a good big difference, 250, 300 students, very different than what it is today. Part of that is due to the outreach that's been initiated in the last 24 months and offering incentive programs for students to aid, return back to school, stay engaged in school, achieve in school, and achieve goals in various areas in school. We've invested $104,000. That's really paid off. I have to tell you that. If you look at pure return on investment for money, pure return on investment, because of those students coming back and the repercussions and the additional revenue that came into the school because of them returning to school and staying in school, this investment has paid off, I'm gonna say, probably 15, 20 times easily what we've invested here. So this has proven with the particular programs that have been put in place, that this has reaped benefits not only for the student themselves, but reaped benefits in revenue for the district, which in turn allows us to continue these programs and offer more programs. This has been an outstanding effort on this part of the school district. In addition to the title programs and the specific programs for Indian education and Native American students, an additional $84,000 has been invested and provided to the programs and items directly related to improving the achievement for Native American students. We also invested $76,000 in staff health. Keeping our employees healthy is very important to us because that's the customer facing individuals. So we invested $76,000 in a variety of programs designed to keep staff healthy and well and in school. And then in student supplies, $524,687. My message to you is that no student has to even buy a pencil, an eraser, a piece of paper, anything. It's all provided for them, whatever it takes to keep them engaged and operating in that classroom. And I just wrote a note to myself, and I sent an email to Reyes and Mr. Saraceno. I said, why haven't you asked for power tools? Why haven't you asked for the items for these? You need to ask for that because we don't want anything to be in the way of providing what students need to get things done. No, I haven't seen it. Okay. So why haven't they been approved? All right, an additional $1.9 million in technology, that's putting technology and systems directly in the hands of students and allows them to operate both in school and out of school. And then staff training is very important, $384,000 invested this fiscal year, not last year or over the course of 3 years. This is how much we've invested this year in helping teachers become better at what they do, helping them to understand more about the needs of how to implement equity and culturally relevant education practices and tactics in their teaching. So that's what has been very important. How to just do basic things as a new teacher. In mentoring, in paying for mentorship programs and things like that to make them better teachers. And then student capital, a variety of things that are equipment-based, but also capital-based, directly related to student achievement and providing for students. All told, $5,615,547 invested this year in direct at-risk students' non-salary expenses. I want to make sure that I'm clear, non-salary, we're not just hiring more people to do that, we're actually investing in things and programs and tools and whatever it takes to help those at-risk students. So before I go on to the cash report, I'll ask Steph and ask if you have any questions related to what I've presented so far.
I guess just for me, just one question. I did notice some of the scenes, like the Native American students, this doesn't include some of the restrictions or requirements through the Yazzie Martinez suit? Or this is in addition to what should be provided there?
All right, so if you remember the very first part of our presentation we did was when we first started the budget, right? And using the ESSER funds, we identified areas of concern and interest that we wanted to target moving forward in the new budget. And those are the same items, same 3 categories that were in the Yazzie Martinez ruling. And so we, 2 years ago, when we first started the budgeting after the Yazzie Martinez ruling, we decided we weren't going to wait for the state to provide us with any additional funding or wait for them to give us their prescription about what should be added. And we started moving forward with adding more things for at-risk students. It's a long answer to your question, Ms. Hunt-Daly, but I want to share with you that this is in addition. So the Yazzie Martinez money, or I guess at-risk programs that were sort of identified or earmarked through the SED and PED were about $3 million. As you can see, this is well and above what that is. So we are taking a very proactive approach to addressing the at-risk students, not in spite of what was prescribed in the Yazzie Martinez, but adding to that. I want to say that we were first out of the gate before we even got that. We decided that we were going to approach that. And we sat down with both the administrative team and with Mr. Perez. He really made it clear we wanted to get this at-risk programs going before we had anything that was prescribed and wanting to get that out of the gate. So this is in addition to anything that was provided to us by the state. Does that answer your question?
And I think the reason I asked that is at our recent conference, that it seemed to be an issue with a lot of our schools that were waiting for that surplus to come in so that they could address this. If I had known, I would have stood up and said, well, we're already doing it and we're not waiting for funds. And that, Grantsville County Schools is ahead of the game. I mean, it's important that the public knows that and that our constituents know that, the community knows that we went beyond what is required. Thank you very much for addressing that. I had one question way back about the attendance. You talked about the attendance for a student. What is our attendance looking like now, percentage wise?
I don't.
And school-wide, do we know that?
Attendance?
I don't have it with me. We are monitoring it really close by school. Some schools are a lot better than others,
Okay.
and we're addressing those. Like Mr. Pettis and I have a meeting with one of our schools tomorrow, addressing some attendance concerns. But Trish and her team are on it. I don't even know what average would be right now for everybody, but I could get it to you for
We
sure.
can get that to you.
Next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. All right, sorry,
No worries. Mr. President, you have comment? No.
you could beef up your report with a joke or something so that you could, no, just kidding.
Alright.
Keep going.
So, every quarter, as you, I've done this before, I've shared this with you before, we have to report our cash balances to the PED. So, this is quarter one of the fiscal year, and I know it's small, I'm gonna walk you through it here, just to point out the important things to you again. So, we looked at all the different funds that we manage, about 34 different funds. Some of these are grouped in when you look at the 23,000 funds, the 24,000 funds, it's several funds rolled up into one, so it doesn't show you every single one individually, thankfully. But we do have to account for them and report. So I'm just gonna share with you, I'm gonna see if I can move my screen closer. Yeah. So if you look at the operational fund, the 11,000 fund, which is the very first column on your grid there, where you can see that moving forward, our cash balance, we moved forward from June 30th, 2022, at the end of the last fiscal year, we moved forward $14 million right here, see that? That doesn't mean that we had $14 million just sitting in the bank doing nothing, and it wasn't encumbered with anything, it just meant that for that particular period, we had, that was the ending balance. You have to take into account that at the end of the year, we also have end of the year payroll checks that go well into the new year, the new school year, so some of that completed. Our average payroll is about $2.3 million a month. So if you look at how much cash we have on hand, and what it takes to operate the schools district in total, right? In total, so I came from healthcare, and there is a benchmark that you use in terms of the health of an organization, right? So we always had to have between 6 months and 1 year cash on hand, meaning that if the spigot stopped right now in terms of revenue, we could operate that hospital for 6 to 12 months, depending on how much we have in reserve, right? With $14 million for the school district, the days of cash on hand is about 65. So about 2 months and a week that if it stops. So I come from the business world and not from the school districts and all that. So I was trying to share that we have to have a very prudent sort of determination to have enough cash on hand to operate if things go haywire at the state or if there are other expenditures that we need to fund. As you know, we pay for everything, and even though we get an allocation from the federal government and through the states as well, we pay everything out of our operating account, right? So we're writing the check first, and then we go and we ask the state or the federal government for reimbursement. And that process can take right now, it takes between 1 month and 6 months to get that back. So we have to keep cash on hand to operate on a regular basis. We're also to plan for the future. So we want to have a prudent strategy for how much cash on hand. And, we get pressure from the state and it gets a lot of notice in the cash balances that are among all of the districts in the state that they seem to be very high. One of those reasons is because of the allocations that we received from ESSER. So it is not normal that you have such a high cash balance because we haven't been able to spend all of it yet. But you'll see that moving forward, because we have capital projects coming forward with the schools, 2 schools coming up, you're going to see a rapid depletion of these cash balances on a regular basis. My advice to Mr. Perez and to the Finance Committee was it's very important for us. We should not ever look at going below in the bank $10 million in our cash balance in the bank. So it's very important that we never get to that point. Right now, we're at a healthy point, but then when we start these projects, right, the cash is just going to start going up. Think of it as if you had started building an addition to your house, right? You get the bank loan and you've got all this money in the bank and you're like, great, we can do a lot with this, we're sitting pretty, but then as you start writing the checks, that really begins to deplete, okay?
We'll be,
So that-
we'll be continuously asking the board for your support and keeping a healthy cash balance. This is a topic that's statewide. The Superintendent's Association has also been discussing the fact that we need to keep a cash balance. And I think there's a little bit of a disparity between the way the state views it and the way that we view it. One of the things we're arguing is that every district's a little bit different and manages their funds a little bit differently. So we need like maybe a general target that we'll ask for the board support on, but not, we don't want to restrict ourselves to having a certain amount. Cause like there's always a different factor, like right now we got all this influx of funds right now, so it's a little bit easier to keep a cash balance. But that's not gonna be the case in 2 years. But I guess the main message is we would like to keep some support and keeping a good cash balance. And I think 10 million is probably the bottom, the low. We need to keep at least that much in our cash. And hopefully the state will agree with us on that pretty soon.
Right, I'm gonna call your attention to that same column, 11,000 account. You go to line 2, you can see that the revenue from July through September was $9 million. That's the money that we got from the state to operate, which brought line 4, our cash, up to 23 million. But then we had 7.8 million in expenditures for that same time period, which gave us line 7, 15.9 million. But then we also had line 8. Remember I told you, the end of the year, we had payroll liabilities to pay. That's $3 million taken from that. So we ended up at the end of September 30th, line 10, with $12.8 million. So remember, every month, $2.5 million, right? So the very next month that we were gonna pay that $2 million, our cash could eventually go down to $10 million. So you can see it's always a delicate balancing act, moving back and forth. And it's very important for us to send in our RFRs as quickly as possible and get our budget adjustment requests in quickly as well. So I just want to point that out to you. I'm gonna then, I'll let you read the rest of it on your own, maybe whenever you have nothing else to do in life. Let's go to the next page here. And this next one, these are federal money, as you can see in the first column, 24,000 fund. We ended up with a cash balance of negative 1.24 million, but we had to loan that cash 1.2 out of our operating fund, because you can never have a negative balance. Anyway, we wound up with 207,000 until we got our rollovers and our allocations for the next year, until they all started coming in. And then you can see through the 27,000 funds, which are state flow-through funds, and then the bond building account, second to the right there, that 31,100 fund. So total cash balance there is $5.6 million, right? It looks like we have a lot of money in the bank just sitting there. But already, 3 million of that is going to be spent in the first quarter of next year, already. And then we have to start paying back loans as well. So again, a delicate balancing act. I'll go quickly to the next capital outlay. We have $1.14 million in that capital outlay fund. We haven't really spent all that much of it yet. And we did get that new allocation from the PSCOC of $1.7 million to be used for maintenance and operations, which is a heck of a lot of money, which is great, which means we don't have to spend the money out of any other fund to do that. Yet. So we have this big shot in the arm, which as soon as I gave Mr. Tripplehorn that notice, he started writing his list already, and I think it's already been allocated. So there's a lot to do. If you recall, so I had a meeting this afternoon with some folks, and they questioned our cash balance. And my response to them was this, and I'll just tell you where I come from. So for years, schools have been deprived of money. They've been starving cash, and they haven't been able to invest in students, you know. I said, when I came on board at the school district here 6.5 years ago, I saw, you know, people measuring out paper reams to see how much paper you can use for a copier. They were doing things like, they didn't have any student supplies. They were begging for equipment in the rooms, things like that, which I thought, you know, it's no wonder the state got sued for the Yazzie Martinez Act. And so I said, you know, we really are now making up for years and years of neglect. And because of that, because of low cash balances and low allocations, we have building problems now that we're spending thousands, millions on in order to recoup and rebuild. And so this is an opportune time for us to rebuild and to make up for what's not been done in the past. And moving forward, when we look forward 3 years from now, 2 years from now, when all this money is gone, we're going to be operating on just whatever the state gives us or whatever else we can do. So I'm not counting on this much cash in the future. That's why we have a plan for allocating money in our reserves so that we have opportunity to continue to provide quality education for students. That's my report. Next month, you'll see a more detailed report about where we are with actual program and expenditures. So plan on that one being a long board meeting with many, many slides. I'm ready to answer any questions.
No, I think it goes a long way in this ever-ending question about transparency. And that we have the information to provide to all those areas that don't think we're spending our money accordingly or that we're not investing it back in our students. So thank you for your prudency in this, Mr. Maldonado. I think we've gone a long way to make our district solvent, and you know, and like you said, I'm sure the future predicts that money's going to be scarce, especially as more schools come into compliance or come into fruition in different areas. So thank you very much for keeping us on in the black, I guess you might say. Okay, moving right along, action items. This part we always enjoy. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, ma'am, and Mr. President, Board, Madam Chair. We have an action item. It's the consideration of approval for an early college high school student to graduate early, and I do recommend that we approve this action item. And we have the student and Ms. Cole here.
Next standing flag.
Not nice.
Hello, President and board members and Superintendent Pettis and central office. I'd like to introduce to you Morgan Morayo. She would like to talk to you and make a request and tell you a little bit about what's going on with her.
So I attended the early college. Just first of all, thank you guys for hearing me talk about this and goals for helping set this up. So I go to the early college high school. I started doing summer program classes. I took 2 to 3 classes every summer, along with extra classes during the regular semesters, so I can get enough credits to graduate early. Right now, where I'm set, I have the grades to pass this semester with good grades. And with the next semester, I'll be taking 5 courses, which will give me more than enough credits to graduate for my associate's degree in science and for my high school diploma. And I wanted permission to get that done.
You bet. Thank you.
No problem.
We need 500 more of you.
Yeah. What career path are you on?
I'm going into nursing right now, I'm starting off with my applied science because my college supervisor or instructor has instructed me that it can help me get my BSN. And then I'm one class away from getting my certification in phlebotomy, so after I graduate, I can take that one course so I can work as a phlebotomist while in college for my nursing degree.
Excellent.
There's a few things to do.
Oh, no.
Your parents are here. Can we acknowledge the parents?
Would you have the parents come up?
Yeah,
Mom and
thank you.
Dad, you're doing a great job. That's all I can say.
Her.
We're very proud of her. We are too. Yeah, we are too.
I need to recruit those roses.
Yeah, why don't you start working on them now,
Yeah,
right
I'm
now.
working on it. I'm so proud of you.
Good
You're
job.
gonna make it.
Yeah, thank you.
Before you go, we gotta take a vote on this.
Madam President, it'd be my honor to make a motion to allow Morgan Mario to graduate early.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that motion.
Roll call?
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Robert Hayes,
Certainly.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yes.
Oh, 40.
Motion passes.
You know, and
You don't have to run. You're good.
to the parents, she could have done this without your support.
Yes, of
You-
course.
You have to know that. We appreciate your dedication and support of your daughter. I wish more parents did that for every one of their students, every one of their children, because this is awesome. This is the part we like the best, is when
You do
they
this
come
every
to us.
meeting, that'd be great.
Oh, yes. So thank you.
Her dad is one of our teachers. Her dad is our welding instructor.
Oh, excellent. Oh,
A lot of, well, we have a lot of welders because of him, so.
There we go.
all right.
Thank you.
I'll give a round of applause for the parents. Okay, moving right along, let's go to our consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am, board members, President. I recommend that we approve the consent agenda this evening as presented.
Do I have here a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda, John. Second.
Okay. Roll call?
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yes.
Okay, motion.
that's a yes.
Motion passes. Moving on to the superintendent's report, Mr. Perez.
Yes, ma'am, members of the board. So, the LFC audit continues. As you know, we've been keeping you updated, and I just make this a part of the agenda so we can keep you informed on how that's going. So we've continued to have, produce more documents for the LFC research team. I think they've even asked for documents as recently as today. We got to give, and we've had a series of interviews. I think they've interviewed several people. I think they have one left. It's Dr. Martin. They're still coming. So so we met with them yesterday at my request, because I told the team that I want us to present to them the big picture of how we see the district from our perspective. So we did present to them yesterday, and then I had a few questions for them too, about the whole process, how we're selected and that kind of thing. So then we had a scheduled meeting for today, this afternoon, and they were giving us the precursor to the findings. So as you know, we are in this audit process alongside Central Consolidated Schools. And we will proceed through the process. They gave us some dates today. I don't have them right in front of me, but I think it's January 2nd that we will get a draft of the findings. And, it's typical to get findings. That's what this process is all about. We'll get an opportunity to respond to the findings. We have an exit session, exit conference, January 5th, and then on January 9th, we were able to just contest or clarify the findings for that. And then we have the actual hearing in front of the full Legislative Finance Committee on January 16th, right? And then that's where, that's the final piece. So that's the process, that's where we're at. The team has done a lot of work in producing the documents, meeting with the LFC's assigned research team and undergoing the whole process. So that's what I got for that. I think there's a piece of this we might be discussing in executive session.
Right, infrastructure projects?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, members of the board. So I was talking to Mr. Hayes and we both thought it was a good idea that we just make everyone aware that there's some city infrastructure projects that will be coming into play here pretty quick. And it will impact our system or just our district transportation, busing and that kind of thing. So we thought this would be a good time to at least jump in front of that and start doing some planning.
Madam Chair, if you would, I have a nice pretty map of what, one of the projects, which is gonna involve Mesa View. I know it really needs to be viewed. I'm not sure if we're gonna get these for the other projects as well, because we as the Board of Education, we really like to know what's gonna be planned with the city, because they've got quite a few things that working on your shoulder. And coming from the city, I think it's a great, that'd be a good liaison, because I get to listen to the city council when they talk about all these things. This is one of the most recent picturesque changes they're gonna be doing, because I've known for quite a few years that the sewer line that's in front of Mesa View is literally in front of Mesa View. So where they want to put the new school will be right on top of that sewer line. So the city is gonna fork over $500,000 to move that line.
Yes.
So they're planning on that. That's one of the pieces, and Mr. Pettis, this is just one of the prettiest ones they came out with, so I'm just telling you. And I'll bring them to you as we get them, because as we talked about, this is gonna be in 2023 and 2024, probably into 2025. There are 5 sets of projects that the city is engaged in right now.
So the city is moving the sewer line just
They're gonna move the sewer
specifically
line.
for the purpose.
For the school, yeah. And infrastructural improvements or what have you. I think they're gonna do the sewer, the water, and they're gonna do paving for that entire area. So it's gonna be quite extensive, but I'm glad to see it. And it's the main trunk line that comes through that part of town on the way to the wastewater treatment plant. Just saying.
And so the district is actually funding part of that project through DOT money that we receive from the DOT. So we've basically given that money to the city to upgrade the infrastructure in front of Mesa View, because it will impact the new school as far as the bus loop that we're gonna be putting in and stuff as well, so.
I know we had some previous discussion around it, but I didn't. This is very clear here.
Would it be possible to have them present this or prior, way before, not just give it to us now and say, oh, this is happening?
Oh, man, I'd be great for Ron to go and chat with Shannon or whoever's on the.
So Shannon and I are actually working on, we have an MOU between the district and the city. And we're actually working on a presentation where we'd like to bring some of those projects that we've done through that MOU with the architects that handle those projects. And we'd like to re-present that MOU just so we can continue that strong relationship that we have with the city on those types of projects. So I'll have that scheduled probably February. Once we get back from the new year, we'll have the company that handles all that for us.
Wilson,
yeah.
Maybe we
We'll
could
her
have
come
a
in and-
work session, because we'd like to hear some of this stuff beforehand. And then so that we can anticipate our plans as far as districts is concerned. But the MOU is great, but we need to be more in conversation.
And the other thing that we need to, with infrastructure is, there is gonna be an upgrade to I-40 with a 3-lane expansion to I-40, which is gonna significantly impact Route 66, which is what we use for bus traffic. So we're gonna have those conversations with the Pueblos to see how we can mitigate that traffic flow during bus times. And so I do work with the entities that impact transportation. If we do have any other working meetings coming up, I know we're working on the Sacaleras corridor right now with Wilson Company. We have a meeting next week, I think, scheduled for it. I can send you the link to it if you'd like to join online, just to see what we're talking about. And that's a joint project between several different entities.
A lot of fingers in these pies coming up, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
There's also some work gonna be done on the walking trail back here, right?
Behind the high school, yes, I believe there's another trail gonna be being built, being designed, yeah.
And doesn't the Grants track team use that walkway or no?
I think at the meeting, they encouraged them to use it, yes, running uphill.
I used to see them running around, so, okay.
Well, you know, I'm glad that Ron's on this because when they brought this up at the last meeting, I'm like, I'm hoping that they've talked to the school somewhat, you know, they didn't mention a single word about that during the presentation. And I'm like, you know, this is gonna be involving everybody.
Yeah, we did a coordination meeting with the Mesa View project and the Washington project as well, so.
Well, let's keep informed of that. I can bring that to our, thank you very much. Okay, anything else on that, Mr. Superintendent?
No, that's all I have, ma'am.
Okay, so we're gonna go into executive session. The board discussion with its legal counsel under the attorney-client privilege in anticipation of litigation pursuant to section 10-15 10-15-1 H7 of the Open Meetings Act to discuss school district compliance with and review of issues arising from the LFC audit related to the respective statutory authorities of the parties, including the production of student information and challenging overreach and scope of authority. So I need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll move to go into executive session.
Made by Mr. Ortiz. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Hay, I forgot Mr.
Yeah,
Dr. Sherman was here. And approval of the consent agenda as presented. Roll call.
Monica Daly,
Yes.
Robert Hayes.
Yes.
Wait, this is a vote for,
To go into
To go into
executive.
executive
you
session.
mentioned consent agenda. So
I might not have taken that up.
Okay, let's take that one out.
Just executive
just
session.
to make sure we don't
Okay.
clear on the vote, yeah.
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Dr. Guy or Shambo. Dr. Guy?
Yes.
Move into executive session at 7:08.
Guess we can stay in here because everybody's leaving.
Okay.
Dalton, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Right.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Hey.
Magic. Okay.
Okay, so let's, I need a motion to reconvene to regular session.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Hayes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ortiz. We go back into regular session at, what time is it?
8:13.
8:13. Roll call?
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz.
Yes.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yes,
Question? Superintendent announcements?
one moment. Before you do that, you need to state that the
Oh, I'm sorry.
session, you know,
Okay.
only discuss the items here.
Okay, during executive session, the only thing that was discussed was with legal counsel under the attorney-client privilege in anticipation of litigation pursuant to section 10-15-1 H7 of the Open Meetings Act to discuss school district compliance with and review of issues arising from the LFC audit related to the respective statutory authorities of the parties, including the production of student information and challenging overreach and scope of authority. That was what was all discussed. Okay,
Announcements?
thank you. Announcements? I guess you can read them, you know. Thank you for, looking forward to the winter break. Going to future agenda items. Please submit them to the board president and to the superintendent. We're looking at a mid-year status of the budget, mid-year projection of budget revenues and expenditures. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ortiz. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hayes.
Waiting on you, Dr. Guy.
Roll call vote.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes?
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz. Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's stay with us.
Okay, meeting adjourned at
8:16.
Eight something like that.
8:16.
I wanted to let you know that my family's still trying to recover from COVID. And so I had to take my wife back up to the hospital today to address an area that we needed to resolve. And so that is resolved. So we continue to be recovering. And therefore I won't be able to sometimes, I'm hoping that she will recover. I'm recovered, but I'm exposed to someone who has COVID, so that's why I'm not able to participate in person. Everything's positive. Tomorrow morning, we have a meeting, and we're going to have to Zoom it if you're going to have the finance committee. Is it the finance committee, Max?
Yes, and I can set up a Zoom for that.
Okay, set up some Zoom for us. What time, Ron, do you want to have it? And Max?
Schedule for 9.
9's good.
9, okay? Okay, that's good. All right.
I'll be here.
I just wanted to let you guys know. I'm gonna leave now. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Dr. Guy, keep us posted.
All right.
All
Take
right,
care.
thank you. Give Marilyn our wishes and she's in our thoughts and prayers.
Thank you.